Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm going to be showing you how to use this We Are Memory Keepers gift bag punch board. So this is just an example of what I've put together of what you can create with this punch board. There's 3 different sizes, small, medium and large bags you can create, and you can do them in a variety of heights as well. So we're going to go through all the instructions and I'm going to walk you through the board itself, and I'm going to show you how to make all 3 sizes, and all of the papers that I'm going to be using I've cut to different heights. So again, I'm going to show you how you can kind of vary then that height. So with this we have got 2 sides which will come in, so if you've got something slightly bigger in here, then you'll still be able to fit that into the bag, but you know, if you've got something a little smaller, then that's going to fit as well. This will also create some holes as well at the top for some ribbon or string. You can see I've just threaded through some ribbon just to make some handles like you can see here, so we'll do that as well just to finish our bags off nicely. These are really easy to put together. This one took me probably about 10 minutes, and this was the first time I'd actually used the punch board to create a bag, so you'll definitely be able to create this in no time at all. So first of all, let's take a look at the board itself, then we can get into creating our gift bags. So let's start with our small bag first. So I've got a piece of cardstock here, so because we're making this small, the width of this is 10 inches and this is then by a height of 7 inch. So again, I'm just showing you a variety of heights that you can create as well. So one thing I want to talk about just a second, it's not going to matter too much with this paper, but it will with our next papers, is if you are using a directional patterned paper, please just be aware that what we're using down here, what we're scoring and punching, this is going to be the bottom of the bag. So if you have any directional paper, make sure that you are putting it in sort of upside down. And I'll explain that more when we come to do our next papers. You'll see how we need to score it, just so then you don't end up with your pattern being upside down. But again, that's not going to matter too much for this particular paper. But what I have decided is I really love the detailing on this top piece here opposed to what we've got at the bottom. So I'm actually going to turn this around, so this piece is going to be the top of our bag. So let's get started actually creating this gift bag. So the first thing we need to do is actually slide our paper all the way underneath all of this punches and this piece here. So you'll notice it goes all the way back till it hits this sort of raised section here underneath, and this is going to then create the flaps to the bottom of the bag, hence why you need to make sure you get the direction of your paper correct. So the first thing we are going to do is just take out our score tool just from that base pocket, and then so let's just get this in camera so you can kind of see the bottom. So here I've got this at 7 inches, like I said. I can then still see the bottom of my scoreboard. With the 12-inch one and certainly the 9-inch one as well, we're probably not going to see the base of our punch board here, but for this one we can. So the first thing I need to do is line up this left hand side of my cardstock with the start line. So we've got the start line marked out on the base here, and we also have a notch just here as well in that section. So all I'm going to do is line up that left hand side with our first start line. Then I'm simply just going to punch. That's going to help create the flaps for the bottom that we need. So in this first instance, we are creating the front or the back of our gift bag. So we don't have much scoring on this. This is just going to stay as a full piece, but there are 2 places we need to score. One is along the horizontal score line, which is basically in that groove just in there, and it's going to be underneath this piece, and then we're going to score along the size that you are creating. So the first thing I'm going to do is score along our horizontal mark, and you only need to score just to the end of the board because we're going to be shifting this along to carry on that score line. So I've done the horizontal, then I'm going to do down the small score line as well. You can see that from the bottom, so you can start that if you're not sure where the groove is for that, but you will just be able to feel it through the paper. So again, along the horizontal score and then down for the size of the bag you are creating. Then all we need to do simply is shift this small line here that we have created. We're going to shift that over to our start line. So we're just going to bring it down I'm going to line it up. I'm going to line it up with this notch that you can see here, just because that's a little bit easier. Then I'm going to punch again. That's going to create our flaps. You can see how that has now shaped this piece here. And then for this is going to create our side panel, and this is going to give our bag the ability to be made smaller at the top. So it's going to create this bit of dimension for us. So here we need to score, you've got on this triangular piece here, we have got an arrow that shows a score line and it's marked as the side. So we want to score down that one. That's going to be the center of our side. Then we've got another side score mark just here. And again, then we are going to score down there. Perfect. Then again, on this triangle piece, it is marked triangle. So we need to score along both of these triangular sides. So you've got a little notch just in here, just to the right of our start line. And that is going to let us score from that corner down to this middle side line. And I'm just going to come straight back up to that. And again, that is going to line up then with this side score line that we've created. And then all we're going to do is the line that we have created on this side here, we're going to line that up again with our start line. And basically we're going to repeat those 2 steps again. So once again, I'm going to punch. That's going to take this piece out for our flaps. We're going to go along the horizontal just to the end of our board. And then I'm going to come down depending on what size of gift bag I am creating. So let's just score there. So along the horizontal and down depending on the size that you are creating. And then this score line here for the size, we're going to shift back down again to hit that start line again. So once you're there, you can punch. Now we need to score down both of those side score lines, just there. And then we're going to do this one here, and that is going to create us just probably a 1/2 inch little tab there, and that's going to be how we can bring our bag together. So now I've done the 2 sides. I can go ahead and do that horizontal line again. And then I'm going to come down both of these score lines on both sides of this triangle. Then I'm going to take it out, and for the last time I'm just going to line up that last score line that we created with our start, and all I'm going to do is punch it. So when we take this out now, this is what our paper is looking like. So again, you can't really see the score lines. If I turn it over, you might be able to see those score lines there. And you can make sure then that we have everything scored that we need to on here. And then you can see then we've got the flaps just at the top. So if we rotate this round, this is how our bag is going to look with our flaps at the bottom. So again, make sure you've got your patterned paper the right way up. So the last thing we need to do before we start to assemble our bag is to then pop in our holes at the top for our handles. So all I'm going to do is just turn our board around, and we've got this little notch just in here. If I put it in there, hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So we've got this notch here, and then basically we're going to line it up with only a few of our score lines. So I'm going to start from my left, and this is where we've got this 1/2 inch tab just here. So this is going to be score line number 1. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But we're only going to be scoring at 5 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up our notch on the punch there with our first score line. And I'm going to punch, and you can see we've got it just coming off slightly. That's fine, because that's going to be on the inside of our bag. And then we've got our hole just there. So we've scored at line number 1. Then we want to score at line number 3. So we can just come along. So we're going to skip 1, and then we're going to punch there. So again, you can see we've got our holes coming through. Then we're going to punch at line number 4. We're going to miss 5, and then we're going to do 6 and then again we're going to do the very last one, so what would be score line number 7. This is just the edge, so again we're going to just line up the very edge with that notch, and it's going to give us just one hole just in there. So that is everything that we need to do on this punch board. So we've scored, we've got our tabs, and then we have our holes as well. So the next thing we need to do is to simply just burnish our folds here. So you can use your bone folder. You can use this as a bone folder, then this is going to work perfectly. I have recently bought this Teflon bone folder, so I am just going to use this. So I'm simply just going to first of all enforce our 1-inch tab, and then I'm just going to work my way down all of our fold lines and just burnish those. So there is then our folded, and we've burnished then our flaps as well as the sides, and I've tried to enforce very gently these side pieces here because it's going to allow the bag just to shut a little better. So now we're ready to put the bag together. So you could use some double-sided tape for this, you could use some liquid glue, whatever you want to do, but what I would suggest doing first is on your 1/2 inch tab here is just cut that corner off. This is going to put the bag together just a little better. And then I'm going to cut off this bottom tab as well. And again, I'm going to do that at an angle. So now we've got our side flap that's going to hold our bag together. And that is then our 1/4 inch tab. So I'm going to use a little bit of Nuvo liquid glue for this, but again, you can use some red liner tape if you are planning to give this as a bag and you want it to stay together nice and strong. I'd recommend using some red liner tape. That will be the strongest tape that you can use. So to put this together, I'm just going to fold over on itself to have our flap facing up with that glue, and then I'm going to fold over this panel as well. And that should then line this up in the right spot. So you want to make sure that that is nicely stuck together. And then you have this, so you can see down the box, and then we've just got our tabs. So the smaller side tabs are going to go in first, then you can pop that base down. So on our first tab that I've got at the bottom, I'm going to place some glue just sort of along that top. Then we can hold that down, and the best way to make sure that this lines up is then just to hold it flat on your surface, and you can just pop something in there just to help stick that first flap down. And then I'm going to do the same for this top flap again, just add some glue to the top. So once again, then we can put that down, and we can just apply a little bit of pressure there just to help that stick together. And there we have our gift bag all put together. So all we need to do is just thread the handles through this. But you can see then, we can put that together at the top. You can see how the sides are going to look. And then just by adding that extra detail that they have in for that sides, you're going to be able to, again, fill it out if you need to, or then you can just close it together. So for the actual finished size of this is roughly 2 3/4 by 2 inches deep. So again, if you wanted to fill the whole of that, you absolutely could, but you can bring that in. So let's just finish this one off, and I'll show you how you can then thread your ribbon through. So I've got a piece of blue ribbon just here. So starting on one side, I'm gonna thread the ribbon into the hole, and then if I just turn it to the side, I'm then gonna come out and back in along this side. Then I'm going to come back out of this hole to then create the handle on the other side, and then back in this side. And then lastly, we're going to come out and back in again. Then I'm just going to tie a simple knot. So once you've knotted that end, you can just pull this back tight, just so it doesn't come out of that side though. You can then come back with the other end into this side, and we're going to do the same again. and make sure it's large enough where then it's not going to come through those holes. So I'm actually knotting this 3 times. Maybe, you know, there's a better knot out there. So I'm going to pull that side tight as well. So you can see we've got both of those knots just by both of those holes there. And what you can do then is just kind of even up your bag handles. And obviously I've just cut a length here and it just is what it is. Of course, if you want to do a specific handle length, then just cut your ribbon enough so you can create those. So then you can just kind of fiddle with it a little bit just so it looks exactly how you want it to. Make sure we got then that nice sort of satin side of our handles looking how we want it to. And there is then our finished small gift bag. So again, this would be perfect for some chocolates in here, maybe some perfume you could do in a size like this. But again, so you can change that height, but this is that small, which the cardstock was 10 centimeters. And like I said, then this creates a bag where the base is sort of 2 3/4 by 2 inches deep. And again, then you could add a tag to this. You could carry on decorating it if you had a plain cardstock, but it's just going to create a really beautiful and really easy handmade gift bag. Now let's move on to our medium size bag. So I've got a piece of patterned paper here. I'm sorry, I don't know where this has come from. It's something that I've just had in my room. And this is going to create a child's gift bag. Like I said, this is the medium bag we're going to create. So this I've cut to 11 inches by 9 inches tall. So again, we're going to be making a slightly taller bag there as well. So let's go back to our punch board again. Okay, so let's talk about directional paper. This is a directional paper. If I was to start using it this way and punch in, by the time I came to finish my bag, my pattern would be upside down because I would have created my flaps on this end. So if you're using a directional paper, make sure you slot it in where the direction is facing down. So for this one, again, if I just bring it down, so you can see that this 11 inch comes off that base of this board. So when you get to the end, just be careful. When we come to burnish our folds here, you're not going to have score lines that's going to come up this high. So we want to make sure that we get that nice and lined up, but we can deal with that once we get to that point. So starting again, I've popped my paper into my punch board. Again, then my paper is essentially upside down for me. I'm going to put this left hand side and I'm going to line it up with my start line. I am going to punch. Then I'm going to score along the horizontal line. The other thing I would mention as well is just be careful with how much pressure you apply with your score tool. And that should depend really on the thickness of your card. If your paper isn't particularly thick, this isn't too bad. So I don't want to rip that cardstock when I come to score it. So I am, conscious of then how much pressure I am applying. Then, so I'm just going to turn this to the side just a little bit to make it easier for me. And then, so here we are making a medium bag. So I want to find that medium groove. And I'm cautious then about how far I am coming down because my paper is coming off that score tool, off this score tool. And then what I'm going to do is line up this medium line here again with our start line or with our little notch up here. Then I'm going to punch. I'm going to continue my horizontal score. I'm going to score the side line. I'm going to score the second side line that comes from the tip of that triangle. And then I'm going to do my triangle lines as well. So starting in that little notch to the center. And then again from that center, I'm going to do up to that side line just there. Then I'm going to take this side score line here. I'm going to move that along to meet that with our start line and with our notch just there. I'm going to punch. I'm going to continue my horizontal line across the top. And this time, again, I'm going back to my medium score line and I am going to score down there. Like so. I'm going to take my medium score line, I'm going to line that up with my notch, I'm going to punch again. This time we are creating that little 1/2 inch tab, so I'm going to go first to the side score line. I'm going to continue my horizontal score line there. I'm going to do my second side score line in the center of our triangle. Then I'm going to do our triangle score lines as well, like so. And you can see once you get the hang of this, just how easy it is to create a bag using this punch board. It is so incredibly quick and easy. Then I'm going to turn this around. So again, now my paper is the right way up and I've got my flaps along the bottom for the bottom of my bag. So now I'm going to turn my punch board over and we're going to then punch the holes for the top for our handles. But if you remember, because of the length or the height of this paper, our score lines haven't gone all the way to the top. So actually before we punch, we are going to burnish our score lines. So just be careful here because you're not going to have those burnished marks all the way to the top. So just make sure that you follow what you have scored here. So I'm going to first of all line up our line number 1, which is this 1/2 inch tab here. So we've got our lines just there. So we are doing line number 1. We're going to do line number 3. Then we're going to do line number 4. Then we're going to do line number 6. And then we're going to line up this right hand edge to give us just one last hole there. So we have burnished all of our score lines as well, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the side pieces. So I didn't burnish those ones in because they're not that important in terms of putting our handles in, but for this I want to make sure again that I am just burnishing that right to the top on both of our side panels. And then again, you can just kind of help this triangular bit along just by kind of folding those pieces in. So before we add our glue to our tab, again I am just gonna cut this off. Then I'm gonna add my glue to our tab just here. So I'm gonna fold this side piece back on itself. Then I can bring in our piece at the other end. So your pattern isn't going to match unless you've got that kind of paper, but again in this fold you're really not going to notice. So just apply some pressure to that just to make sure that this has stuck nicely. Then again we can pop our bottom fold in. So again I'm going to add some glue to the top piece of the front flap, and then we're going to put that back. So we're going to put those both down, and then that's going to help us to get the right placement for that bottom flap so our box actually sits properly. And there we have this gift bag all done for you. So again, a really fantastic size. In terms of finished size, for the actual box here. So this is roughly 3 1/4 wide by, again, about 2 inches deep. So you can see I've just finished this gift bag off just by adding some bright orange handles there, and I think this finishes it off really lovely. So again, another fantastic size with that different height as well, and here I've got then a different length of handles. So again, if we bring in that first one, these are obviously a lot longer, so again you can really customize it to what you want or what you need it to be. But again, such an easy bag to put together, and I just think they're absolutely brilliant and can be used for so many different things. And it's, you know, if you've got a card that you're creating or something and you know you want a matching gift bag to go with that as well, you can use the same papers, you can use the same decorations. So don't forget, use your plain papers with this as well and just decorate. You can add toppers and lots of different things to this, tags, and you can coordinate then to maybe the card that you've created for that person as well. So for our large bag, I've picked this really beautiful paper. I absolutely love this. We've got big giant flowers and we've got these lovely birds. So just to show you that you can use obviously smaller patterns. So, you know, papers that have got smaller designs on it. You can use ones that, again, is a bit more plain or plain paper. But this here, you know, an absolute beautiful, big, bold design on here is still going to work just as nicely. And this is going to be so great for things like Mother's Day, obviously birthdays and things. But yeah, I can definitely see this being used as like a Mother's Day gift bag. So let's get into this. So this is 12 by 12 inch. So, you know, I've not trimmed this down at all. So let's go ahead and start creating our bag. So once again, I am lining up that first left hand side, and don't forget my paper is upside down as well because it is directional. So that left hand side we have lined up with our start line. I'm going to punch. This obviously is going to come much further off this punch board, so we need to make sure that we are careful when we do come to sort of burnishing our score lines. So as we have done before, so we are going to do our horizontal line up to the edge of our punch board, and then we're going to do this last score line for the large. So just sort of find that groove and gently come down to the bottom of our scoreboard. So then we're going to move this score line here from that large line over to our start line. We're going to line that up. Once again, I am going to punch. I'm going to carry on my horizontal score line there as well. Then I'm going to do my side. See, okay. Prime example of why you need to be really careful, again, with using paper that's longer than the scoreboard, and then with your pressure. So I have just ripped a little hole there where obviously I'd come off the edge of our board there, so please be careful. Note the amount of pressure you're using and just kind of be careful, only go sort of so far with that so you don't end up with a rip mark. What you could do is then, not to waste this paper, if you didn't want to, if you had a mistake like that in there, that's fine, just trim your cardstock down so you're not going to have as tall of a bag, but then so you're not wasting it either. So, you know, I'm going to carry on creating this bag, but yeah, be careful of the edge and be careful with your pressure. So that was our first side score line. We're going to do our second side. So again, I'm just being careful. Then I'm going to come down and create our little triangle there. Then I'm going to move this end side score line up with our start line, up with our notch again. I am going to punch. I'm going to carry on my horizontal score, and then I'm going to come back down my large line. And again, I'm just sort of looking at where I've stopped here just to make sure that I don't come off that board again. So then we're going to move this score line here over again to our start line. I'm going to punch. I am going to do my side carefully. Now I can see where the board ends. So I'm going to do my first side. I'm going to do my second side line to create our 1/2 inch tab. And then I'm going to do our triangle. So what I did forget to do actually on the medium bag, you can do this or you can just trim it off. It doesn't make a difference, but we still need to punch this tab as well. So I'm going to bring that last score line over to our start line, and I'm just going to punch there to create this tab. We do end up cutting this off, so what you could do when we cut just the corner piece off, so we're just going to cut along here, but you could simply just cut down to your tab if you forget to cut that off, but yeah, so you need to go all the way to the end with that. So I'm just going to move my scoreboard just for the moment because, again, because our lines only go up this high, we do need to carry on burnishing those. But again, so like I said, if you do end up, you know, ripping it a little bit, you just trim it down just underneath and you can just make a smaller bag. So now we've got all of those burnished. Again, we're going to add our holes for our handles at the top. So again, I'm going to line up score line 1 and score line 3. Then we're going to do score line 4, score line 6. So make sure you just butt that right up against this back piece. And then we're going to do that very end one as well. So lining up that right hand side to that notch. So I really had to zoom out now so you can actually see the full of this bag. If I just pop it to the side. So again, in terms of measurements, so this one is about 3 3/4 wide. I'd imagine again, yeah, by 2 inches there. So again, you've got a really big one. I'd imagine possibly you could fit maybe like a bottle of wine in here. It might possibly not quite be wide enough at the sides, but you know, you could certainly put something more of that height in here, and that is going to work perfectly. You can see I've added some handles as well. So again, these are relatively shorter handles, and again, then you can kind of customize this as much as you wanted to. If you wanted to do more paper handles, you could do that and not punch these holes in there. What you could do as well, if you wanted a different kind of look, again depending what you're going to use it for, you could then kind of fold it over and create like a little flap if you wanted to, if you wanted it to be a little bit more secure. After kind of creating the base of this product, so of the gift bag itself, you know, this you really do whatever you want with this. Again, you don't have to put the handles, you don't have to put the holes in it if you don't want to. But yeah, I think it's just really, really great. And I absolutely love using this paper as well. So, you know, you've got these birds on it, but you've got these massive flowers. So beautiful. You could add some like glossy accents and things. Again, if you just wanted to give this a little extra decoration, you absolutely could. And in terms of that kind of rip hole, obviously, that's sort of on one of these side pieces here. You can't really tell too much. You know, you could pop just a bit of glue or something if it really bothered you and you didn't want to kind of start again. You know, you could kind of fix that quite easily, but to be honest, I had to go looking for actually where that was. But again, like I said, if you get something like that, you could just chop this down. So here are the 3 bags kind of next to each other. Maybe if I pop them to the side just so we can kind of get this larger one in here, you can see just how these look. So just in regards to the height of these bags, so this paper I left at 12 inches high. This isn't going to be a finished 12-inch high bag because you do need to take into account the bottom flaps as well. That is going to come out of that measurement. So just to make things easy regarding this one, so I cut this to 7 inches tall. So the finished height of this is 5 3/4. So it is taking just 1 1/4 inches off your height here. But again, take that into consideration. If you want a bag that is a particular height, just make it the size you want plus then 1 1/4 inches to get that perfect height there. But you know, I absolutely love how these are looking. I love how easy they are to create and just how much you can kind of customize it to what you need it to be. So this is showing you how to use the We Are Memory Keepers gift bag punch board. Again, so you've got that large, medium and small bag just here. If you have any more questions about this tutorial or about the product itself, leave me a comment in the comment section down below. If you did find this video helpful and useful, then please give it a thumbs up. That really does help to support my channel and lets me know the videos that you guys like to see. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, then please do so. You won't miss out on any future videos. And if you have any suggestions, if there's any products that you want me to show you how to use, again, let me know and I can look into creating those videos for you. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.